Had you ever imagined a world where animals rise to defend the innocent? What happened next will leave you speechless. Don't forget to subscribe and comment below. It was early morning in the quiet town of Valverde, where golden fields stretched as far as the eye could see. But just beyond the fence, life was harsh. An old man named Antonio, 70 years old with back bent by decades of hard work, walked slowly through the cold grass, his stomach growing louder with each step. He wasn't there for fun or adventure. He had come to steal food. His wife, Isabel, had passed away the previous winter, leaving him alone in their small, crumbling home at the edge of town. With no children nearby and no money left after her illness, Antonio had gone days without eating. He crept quietly toward the barn behind the large farmhouse owned by Mr. Rafael, a wealthy landowner known for his strict rules and short temper. Inside the barn were sacks of grain, apples stored in wooden crates, and hay stacked high for the horses. Antonio's heart pounded as he slipped inside, scanning the dimly lit space. He reached for a few apples and a small bag of oats, stuffing them into an old cloth sack tied around his shoulder. Each item felt like hope, like survival. But hope is fragile. Suddenly, a voice shattered the silence. "Hey, what do you think you're doing?" Antonio froze. Standing in the doorway was Mr. Rafael, the wealthy owner of the farm. He wore expensive clothes that smelled of power and privilege. His face was red with anger, his eyes sharp like knives. "I'm sorry," Antonio whispered, clutching the sack to his chest. "I've gone days without food. I just wanted to help myself survive." Raphael didn't listen. He stormed toward him, grabbing a wooden stick from the ground. "You think this is yours? You think you can just take what you want?" Antonio backed away, his heart pounding. He tried to walk away, but his foot caught on a root and he fell hard. The sack rolled away, apples scattering across the dirt floor. "No!" he cried, tears streaming down his cheeks. "Please, don't hurt me." Raphael raised the stick high above his head. Just then, a sound broke the tension. A loud, deep neigh. The Mustang horses around them stirred. One stepped forward, blocking Raphael's path. He frowned. "Out of my way, stupid animal." But more horses began to move. Slowly, they formed a circle around Antonio, shielding him from Raphael. "What in the world?" Raphael muttered, stepping back. The horses stood firm. Not aggressive, not scared, just protective. Antonio looked up at them, stunned. They weren't just animals anymore. They were his guardians. He whispered softly, "Thank you." Then, slowly, he got up and walked away. He didn't run because his legs wouldn't let him, but he moved steadily, breath trembling with emotion. At home, he sat by the fireplace, eating the little food he had managed to save. It warmed his bones, gave him strength. But Antonio knew this couldn't be the end of the story. The next day, Antonio returned to farm. This time, he was more careful. He waited until the workers were busy before slipping through the fence again. But this time, he wasn't alone for long. From a distance, Don Miguel, the farm manager, saw him. He watched as the old man approached a pile of feed bags near the stables. Calm this time, more confident than yesterday. Something about him struck Miguel. His courage, his desperation. Instead of shouting, he stayed quiet. But fate had other plans. As Antonio reached for another bag, Raphael appeared once again. Well, he sneered. "Back for more, are we?" Antonio turned pale. He dropped the bag and tried to walk away. But Raphael was faster. He grabbed his arm. "No more stealing. Old thief. You're going to learn a lesson today." He dragged him toward an old barn nearby. "Please," Antonio begged, tears streaming down his face. "I just wanted to feed myself. I have no one else." But Raphael didn't care. He locked him inside. The barn was dark, damp, and cold. Only a small crack of light came through the roof. Antonio curled into a corner, hugging his knees, whispering to himself over and over, "Be strong, be strong." Outside, the horses began to gather. One by one, they surrounded the barn. Neigh after neigh echoed across the fields. It was like a protest, a cry for help. Miguel heard the noise and rushed over. "What's going on?" he asked. "The horses won't move." one worker replied. Miguel looked closer, and then he saw it. The horses weren't acting wild. They were standing guard, protecting someone. Inside the barn, Antonio heard their calls. It gave him strength. He pressed his hand against the wooden wall and whispered, "I'm okay. Thank you." Days passed. Word spread through the town. Children talked about the brave old man who stole food to survive. Adults whispered about the strange behavior of the horses. Among them was Dona Elena, a kind-hearted teacher who had known hardship in her youth. When she heard about Antonio, she decided to act. She went straight to the farm, bringing with her father Mateo, a local priest, and Officer Luis, a fair and respected officer of the law. They demanded to see Antonio. Rafael refused at first, but faced with growing pressure and witnesses, he had no choice. When the barn door creaked open, Antonio stepped out, weak but alive. Elena rushed to his side, handing him bread and water. Antonio looked at her with tired eyes and said, "I'm fine. Just, please, don't let this happen to anyone else." In the weeks that followed, Rafael was forced to face the truth. His cruelty had been exposed. His reputation cracked. But something deeper shifted inside him. He started seeing Antonio not as a thief, but as a man fighting for survival. He visited him one evening. "I'm sorry," he said, voice shaking. "I was afraid of losing everything. But you taught me something different." Antonio looked at him carefully. "You can change," he said simply. Those words hit him harder than any punishment ever could. Time passed. The farm changed. With help from the town, Rafael transformed part of his land into a community space. Small homes were built for struggling families. Gardens grew fresh food. Children played together under the shade of trees. Antonio found a new family with Miguel and his wife, Rosa, who had always wanted to help others. And the horses? They still roamed the fields, calm and proud. Sometimes, Antonio would sit beside them, resting his head on their warm sides. "Thank you," he'd whisper. "You saved me." And though they never spoke, it felt like they understood. Moral lesson: compassion can come from the most unexpected places, even from those who cannot speak. Sometimes, the purest acts of kindness are silent, yet powerful enough to change hearts and lives forever. Let us know what you think from wherever you're watching.